Good afternoon. Thank you for your patience and just waiting for some last minute people to join. We'll go ahead and get started just to ensure that we're not wasting anyone's time today. I'll just kind of get started with a few household items. First things first, just so you guys are aware, this session today is recorded. So if you do want to go back and have a look through the video at any point later on, you will have that ability to do so. In addition to that, we will also be taking questions at the end of the session. You'll notice at the bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A box, or you can actually type your questions into the chat icon as well, and we will address those at the end of the session should you have any questions. To get started today, we want to thank you for joining the webinar. We're excited to go through the integration that Advicefront and FinaMetrica have. So my name is Rebecca Clement. I'm in the sales department for FinaMetrica. And to begin this session, we have Andre Costa, the CTO and founder of Advicefront.
Hi, Rebecca. Thank you so much for the introduction. So today I'm going to present to you Advicefront and also the integration that we have with FinaMetrica. And so let's start by going to Advicefront. One thing I would like to share is that Advicefront has an advisor side and also a client side. So this means that your client can also register and has this beautiful client portal where you can interact with them. So you can share documents. You can also have message. We also have messaging, so it means that you can also chat with your clients. So when the advisor logs in, the first thing you will see is this list of clients. So I already have some, but everything starts to add a client. So I'm going to add a client, but before, I want to give you a bit of background about Advicefront. As we started in 2015 to build this end-to-end solution, and in 2017, when we already had everything developed, we decided to move on and break our system into different modules so that we can go a bit deeper in terms of integrations and features for each one of the modules. So the module I'm introducing to you today is called onboard. And what it does is exactly what the name says. So it's to onboard new clients. And the onboard part, we have client agreements, also have billing and fact find and risk profiling, which is the thing that I'm going to introduce to you today with FinaMetrica. So I'm going to invite a new client, but I could also import a client from one other integration. You can check this out later. So I'm just going to add the name. I'm going to invite Rebecca today. So I'm going to invite Rebecca, but I'm going to use my email. So something like this. And like I said, we have a client agreement. So client agreement is just a contract that you have with your client. Some firms also use the term terms of business, but we decided to go with client agreement. So I want to see the client agreement right now. And we also have these service fees where we can set a specific fee just to start working with the client. So this is a feature that some advisors will not use, but others will. So we can just turn this off or turn it on. So I just want to show you how this could work. So for this client, I'm going to charge, let's say, £1,000 for financial planning. That's it, nothing more. I'm just going to remove the rest and leave it like this. And then I can also write a message that will go with this invite. So I'm going to leave it empty. And okay, so this is it. I'm going to invite the client. So the client was, we sent the invite to Rebecca, but I can also start working on the fact find for Rebecca. So we have, like I said, client agreement, the billing, risk tolerance, and the fact find. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the client agreement. And like I said, the client agreement is just a simple contract. This is just a demo that we have. So it's just a like a boilerplate, but every firm should write it. And because I added services agreed, it means that we added those services agreed to the client agreement. So I keep scrolling, and we are still waiting for Rebecca to answer. So because I'm the advisor, I'm not allowed to answer and to assign this. It must actually be Rebecca. Then we have the fact find, okay? And Our fact find is a very complete fact find that you can start writing everything here, just randomly picking up some dates. Sorry if I'm not, this is not the right birthday. Okay, so and then you can actually write everything here, or you can just leave this so that your client will do this on the client side. So that's also one thing that is very important to us. It's we are trying to create this new digital solution where the client and the advisor will be able to interact and engage online. So it means that you can also, the client should do part of the work, or you can also do everything if you wish to do it. So our fact find is composed by multiple sections. So right here on the left, so we have about, we have income, savings and investments, property and assets, debt protection, annual expenditures, and milestones. And you can just start navigating through this. You can say, okay, yes, Rebecca is employed. I know she's employed, so I'm going to put employed, occupation. I'm going to put sales, company, Planet Plus, something like this. And then you could also add the gross annual salary, or wait for the advisor for the client, your client, to actually do this. I'm just going to hit and save changes. Okay, that's it. And moving on to the risk profile, it's actually very simple because we try to do most of the work for you. So this, you just have to actually press on Send to FinaMetrica. Okay, so we have FinaMetrica integrated here. When you register to Advicefront, you may need to go to your settings and change the risk provider, because we also work with other risk providers. Yeah, but then it's just to press and send to FinaMetrica. I'm going to step a bit back, and I'm going to give just one step back. And I was about to tell you that our system is a completely white label solution, which means that we also offer on the client side a really nice website that each firm can customize with their own wording, custom colors, so that every client, when they log in, they will see only the brand of the advisor, not Advicefront. Okay, so you can also customize that. There's a lot of customizations coming in. And also one thing I wanted to also share with you is that today is the first time we are actually doing a demo or an introduction for the new design. So this is something that came up a couple of months ago when we wanted to completely redesign Advicefront for this new way of doing giving advice, which is a bit more modular. And so this is the first time that we are doing that. And okay, so moving on, as I was saying, so when you go to the risk profile of your client, you can just press on Send to FinaMetrica. You will be redirected to the FinaMetrica website, where you will be doing, where you have your login. And this is the moment I will pass everything to Rebecca, and she will continue with the demonstration on the FinaMetrica side.
Thank you, Andre. Awesome. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. And there we go. So as Andre mentioned, it's direct. We have that nice integration from the two systems that you can see here on screen. Going into risk profile, here we have Rebecca Comment, again as the client. Send to FinaMetrica. It's actually going to open up the FinaMetrica system. And at this point, this is where you can actually create a questionnaire for your client to fill in. How this is done is it prompts you to the client screen here. It gives the name of the client, the email. You can select the country, which will help with the version of the questionnaire that is sent out to them. We do also have two different questionnaires, a 25-question questionnaire, which is of course more granular and provides more detail, or a 10-question questionnaire. As advisors, we all know that sometimes getting 10 questions out of some clients might be the best that you can do. If that's the case, of course, that is an option. Otherwise, it's recommended the 25-question questionnaire. What we see here on screen then is just a little bit of other options here. So I'll give a quick briefing of what we see here. Create risk tolerance test. Of course, we want that box to be checked because that is in fact what we're doing. We want to create that risk tolerance test for this client. Include demographic questions. We have a list of 8 demographic questions that can be additionally sent to your client should you wish. This can either be checked or unchecked. It, of course, has no impact on the risk tolerance results itself whatsoever, but it is just further further information about your client should you wish to include. Show report after completion. Should you wish for your client to have access to the report after they've completed their questionnaire, you can make that choice. It's up to your discretion there, again, just by that simple checkbox system. And I'm not going to get into these here options too much, but basically you're just sending the email to the client so that they have the ability to actually answer the questionnaire independent from the advisor. This is, of course, to eliminate any advisor bias. Just a bit of information on FinaMetrica for those of you who might not be too familiar with us. FinaMetrica is a psychometric questionnaire. Risk tolerance is actually a psychological attribute, and of course this is then best measured by a psychometric tool, which is what FinaMetrica is. Basically what we are trying to determine is how emotionally comfortable your client is taking risk. So that is what the questionnaire is actually going to help you determine. So when I hit continue here now, it's going to just load and prompt me, here's my client. I've created a questionnaire to them, the version and the length. I'm not sure if you heard that ding. Basically what that is me receiving an email as Rebecca Clement, as this client, to then complete the questionnaire through email. What I'm actually going to do, though, just so you can see it all on screen here, is just complete it. This is exactly what the questionnaire will look like when the client is filling it in. But it just comes up one question at a time. I'm going to answer at random, but just so we can kind of see how it looks here on screen. So as I'm answering these questions, you'll notice that we're just populating through. And what we're trying to determine then, of course, is what the risk tolerance score is. And we can then further move on to our planning options once we have completed it. What the questionnaire is also helping, here we go, sorry, there we go, is how comfortable your client is with investment ups and downs. So the advisor can make sure that the client won't panic during, a downturn in the market or anything like that. It's also, it's also just to ensure that the client is comfortable in what you've actually placed them in, so that, here's those demographic questions I was talking about, so that in the event of a downturn in the market, they're actually, they're able to actually take that amount of risk. So here we go, we're gonna hit next. And what we're gonna see on screen then is the results of the questionnaire that this client has completed. So here we have Rebecca Clement. She scored a 44 on that questionnaire that we just completed. That's the risk score that we have. These here options are all the options that go along with the client. So these are all the reporting functionalities. I'll go through it as soon as I download this document. One other thing I would like to point out, though, is FinaMetrica, you do have the ability to actually create an agreed upon score. Should your client have filled out the questionnaire and for whatever reason, your client and yourself determine that there's a better appropriate number, you do have the ability to do that. So let's say it's 49 perhaps. And of course, it's going to prompt you to create a file note as to why the risk level wasn't appropriate, and this is why you're changing tolerance for this client and for whatever reason. And then you're going to hit save notes. And I'm going to hit the download the document button. What we have in terms of the document, which is great, is it's all these different elements in those blue that I was just showing there down below. So you have the ability to actually include or disclude any of those elements that are appropriate for your client. So for instance, this particular client didn't fill out the demographic questionnaire, so probably irrelevant to them to have that in their document. So you do have that ability and functionality to check or uncheck anything that is relative to your client that you are actually working with. So we'll just give that a minute there to download. And what we're actually going to notice then when we jump back into the Advicefront screen is that all this information, the client's risk score, along with the agreed upon score, and actually this document are all going to be found nice and easily in the Advicefront system. So I'm just going to give this a quick refresh on my client. Here we have the raw score, the agreed upon score, and then there's our report there too. So as you can see, it's nice and easy to onboard your client with the FinaMetrica integration with Advicefront, so you can get all the information from your client that you will need right from the start of your planning options. So that's kind of just a bit of a high level overview. I did want to just dive on into the report just so you can see what abilities you do have with it as well, what you're provided with. So basically it's going to go through a list of different elements that are provided from the results of the psychometric questionnaire. So first things first would be the risk tolerance score. It's basically giving, based on how the client actually answered the questionnaire relative to the majority of the population, it's giving an indication as to where they fall within the majority of the population. As you see, we actually have a bell curve distribution from our over 1.4 million responses of the questionnaire. This is the distribution that we've actually found from the questionnaire and the results of people actually answering it. In addition, we have the risk group. So it's just going to give a breakdown of how the clients feel towards specific situations and scenarios based on how they actually answered the questionnaire. So as I continue scrolling here, this is my favorite piece of the reporting functionality, and that's the differences page. The reason this is my favorite is because it actually provides that element for the advisor to ask deeper questions about the client and get to know them on another level, which is really great. So what we're seeing here, if we're taking a look through, we're noticing that all the questions here that Rebecca's answered are all actually in a risk group 3 until we see some of these other outlier questions. This isn't bad. You're going to see that with majority of your clients. It doesn't mean, just because I'm a risk group 3, it doesn't mean I'm going to answer all of my questions as a risk group 3. It's not expected. We're not robots. We're not expected to answer the questionnaire the exact same way, but it just gives you some insight as to where your client actually differs from the majority of their risk group. So you can actually have a look through, and for feels after decisions, question number 7, you can actually go back and review that question with your client, or perhaps this one here, question 4, thrill investing, because they actually answered it as a risk group 6. You might want to go back and review and just get a bit more further insight into their response on that particular question. Here we see the questionnaire itself and the risk responses in specific to how they actually answered every single question. So you can see that with that blue check mark. I'm going to continue scrolling there, and how to use the report, footnotes, file notes, and of course a signature option there too at the bottom. So that's what we see here on screen for that nice integration through with onboarding your client with the risk profile option through Advicefront. One thing I do want to say is about pricing, of course. So for FinaMetrica, our retail price is 795 euros. If you are an Advicefront user, you would actually receive a 10% discount, receiving the subscription for 716. So I will go ahead and let Andre speak to cost and pricing for Advicefront. and I'll review if anyone has any questions. Please don't hesitate to reach out.
Hi, Rebecca. Thank you so much. Yeah, in terms of pricing, Advicefront, the price of Advicefront is £99 per month per advisor. And we also offer a free paraplanner or admin license as well. So it's £99 for 2 users. We have these different roles inside of Advicefront. So that means that if you're an advisor, you can also have some paraplanners to help you work with some of your clients. But the pricing is £99 per month per advisor. And we also want to offer a 10% discount for all FinaMetrica users as well. So if you are seeing this video and you are a client from FinaMetrica, you will also have a 10% discount on our side.
Excellent. I'm not seeing any questions at the moment here. We'll stay online for maybe a minute longer, so please don't hesitate to reach out. Should you have any questions after the video, certainly reach out to, I presume, either Andre or myself with anything further. As I mentioned at the beginning of the session, this session has been recorded. I'll get the 2 videos together for ease of looking through them. And I thank you all for jumping back online for our little online mishap, we'll call it. Excellent. Well, I don't see anything coming through in terms of questions again. Thank you all very much for joining the session today. We really appreciate your time. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. And on behalf of Advicefront and FinaMetrica, thank you and have a great day. Bye for now.